Oh, welcome. We're back at it for Castle Nathria. So let's get right to it. For Mythic Shriekwing, you're going to want 2 tanks, 4 healers, and then a mix of DPS. You can actually have about even ranged and melee here. It's not a big deal. And then all you do on pull here for the tanks is you want to position Shriekwing pretty much like this. So let's pause here and talk about what this positioning does for you. Alright, the raid is lined up from right here all the way to the tanks. You're just forming a line. And what this makes it do is it basically makes phase 1 on autopilot. You just do heroic mechanics and you're good to go. So whenever people are affected by the debuff they gotta drop, they just back out this way towards the boss spawn area and just fill that up. And then what's gonna happen is echolocation is gonna spawn. Okay, and the boss is just gonna be baited and turns around. The raid is then going to move this way and get out of line and DPS all the way from over here. Okay, because we'll have him moved. So, pretty straightforward positioning here. This boss is one of the easiest. I mean, it is the easiest on Mythic, for sure. But it's also sneaky difficult, especially in the intermission. So what you'll see on our kill here, and this is actually a re-kill because my raid leader specifically forbade me from using our first kill because we actually hit in rage and just like barely killed it. So you're going to see the first echolocation coming up here. Also for tanks, this boss is weird as hell with the threat. I think if you're above the 100% threat threshold, but you haven't ripped threat yet from your co-tank, you will still get hit by his tank ability. It can be cleared by like File of Serenity, or Stoneform, Dwarf Racials, Fireblood. So here's the first LOS, and then we're just going to reset. So this is kind of like one cycle of the intermission. But tanks, make sure you have a way to track the debuff on your co-tank, and make sure that you only taunt when you need to, because you'll actually see me die later on here because we missed a taunt. So right there, Pam got it. Blind swipe, your ranged can outrange that just by standing on like in the center of the room, how we had our markers set up, and melee should still dodge it. So here's another echoing screech pit. You can see the raid moving around to the right, to the behind, and we just DPS. You hear on pull here as well. So this one actually goes on me, and it's a standard tank swap. And my puppy is down below me messing around. So very straightforward on phase 1. Now phase 2, which comes after the second ear splitting shriek, so the second LOS, he's going to kind of float up into the air. You guys know this from heroic, it's the same. Alright, and now you just dodge. Now here, huge focus, your lantern runner has to kind of be aware. The lantern can get hit by the little circle rings, it just cannot get hit by player explosions. So I dip into the debuff a lot because I'm a tank. You do kind of want to keep your stacks relatively low. It's okay to let it expire and then refresh it. It's okay to stay at this first pillar as long as possible. This helped us a lot. Also moving as a group. The bounces are not always the same, and then obviously you want to LOS each shriek. So now we're moving. We move back. Very straightforward move on this first one. And she's actually only going to do 2 shrieks here. Sometimes this happens. I'm not sure if it's intended or not. And here she just says, okay, well here I go, I'm good. Actually, Shriekwing might be a he too, I don't know, I wasn't looking up the script. So, second phase 1 gets a little more sketchy. Like I said, I will die here. But you just bring the boss into the area that's clear. Sometimes we have to flip and we have to go to the opposite side here, just because this pillar gets screwed up by oopsies. But generally speaking, it's okay. So that one went on Pam, so I taunt. Again, for tanks, tracking that debuff on your co-tank is huge to let you decide instantly whether or not to taunt. It helps a lot because he is kind of tricky. But pretty straightforward. I mean, there's not a lot more to talk about, but I will show you how fast this falls apart. So right now we have everybody alive, burning. He's got a fair amount of health. This kill was about a couple weeks ago. We are close to one transitioning this now. So with current gear, you might be able to do the same, and that'd be huge.
GD, can I get in a bit?
So dodging swipe, dropping pools. Right here I die. Again, I took melees with that debuff, so. just something to be aware of. It will save your tanks a couple of times, especially if you're progging. Our healers carry really hard in the second intermission because we go into huge stacks and everything. So starting to get a little bit low on room. Just got to make some plays, and then you're going to do the second dodge here.
Intermission 2.
Alright. Now, like I said before, the little echolocation circles that come out of the boss here, they're not the exact same every time. Like, for example, Mythic Jaina, you could always go through the same route. On here, it depends on like how these circles bounce off of the points. I'm guessing they maybe adjusted his spawn. So I do a lot of creative dodging. I almost got hit there. You can stand in the red puddles for a bit, not a huge deal. And then right here, you don't have to be on the pillar del OS. You can be behind it. You can be 20 feet behind that pillar, and still do it. So we got really low there. Our stacks got really high on the debuff from the lantern, but still lived it. And then we're going to be able to, not really even limp it home, but basically. There's
Second pots, guys. Second pots. Watch swipe.
not a lot to do here. Yeah, this is one of those bosses where like it dies on reclears within 1 or 2 pulls anyway. So it's not really like worth the time to optimize an ideal dodging strat other than trying to micro people with one stack. It's a pretty good intro boss, honestly. It puts a fair bit of personal responsibility onto your raid, but it doesn't wipe you or punish you extremely hard if a couple people have oopsies. And like we've killed this with literally 2 people alive and things like that. Right here, Shriek is probably a little bit too far forward for that echolocation bait if we ever got to it, because the circles would bounce off of the pillar there. But pretty straightforward boss. We'll see you on the next one.